Hello, good evening and welcome to News at 10, our last bulletin for the day. We're live from the News Hub at Adesawe Kanda. You can also hear me on 3FM 92.7. Let's start with the summaries of the day's news highlights. 10 protesters in the Ablekuma deplorable road demonstration in Accra have been arrested. Irate youth from 4 adjoining communities blocked roads and burned ties to express their frustration over what they describe as government's insensitivity towards their plight. On the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC has cast doubts over government's claims it transferred an amount of 403.74 million cedis into the Treasury single account in 2017. This follows claims by PIAC that government through the Finance Ministry did not account for the said amount being an unspent portion of the annual budget funding amount. And former Member of Parliament for Ablekuma South, Fritz Bafo, has denied being peeved for not being appointed to serve in the Mahama-led government. The former Information Minister, who has joined the Ask Bagbin team as Campaign and Communications Director, says he will ensure Alban Bagbin wins the flag bearership race to lead the NDC in the 2020 general elections. On the Trades Unions Congress, TUC has kicked against the National Cathedral project. Its Deputy Secretary General Joshua Ansa described the intended project as a misplaced priority on the part of government following what he termed as economic challenges confronting the country. Those are our major news highlights. Remember, you can hear me live on 3FM 92.7 and you can follow us on Facebook Live and on 3news.com. Up next is the big one. Welcome back. Now, over 1,500 staff of the various breweries in Ghana will be laid off by the end of October. According to the General Secretary of the Food and Beverages Manufacturers Association, Samuel Agre, over 1,200 workers have already been laid off due to what they call the economic hardships currently facing the country and the various taxes introduced by the Akufo-Addo-led government. The association says the layoffs started as early part of this year, with some companies already laying off their staff and others have shut down their plants completely. He further revealed that some big factories in the brewery industry in Ghana will soon lay off more workers due to government's handling of the implementation of the tax stamp policy. Right, we're fortunate to have in the studio Samuel Agre, who is the General Secretary of the Food and Beverages Manufacturers Association. Good evening, Ms. Agre, and thank you extremely for joining us. Now, the understanding we get from the statement your association issued is that taxes and other things are putting pressures on the breweries to keep their heads level, for which reason they're laying off. But are taxes really the reasons?
Let me say that there are so many factors that is contributing to the where we are now. Let me say this morning when I was issuing that statement, there was a complete assertion that others were getting ready to, but that was based on the information that we got, and then the effect that happened over the past week. Now, if you realize, most of the factories where their premises were besieged
by the Ghana Revenue Authority over the
for the
tax
enforcement
stamp
of the tax stamp. Now, the reason being that because they were not affixing the stamps, and therefore they need not to send their stuff outside to go and sell. Now, once you do that, what it means is that you've actually shut production.
So what you're suggesting is that the enforcement of the tax stamp issues means that a lot of products are not going onto the market, and so you're not selling.
There was no need for you to go ahead to do your production. And based on these factors, anticipation was that the factories were supposed to lay off some of their staffs.
But they're laid off because they are unable to comply with the tax stamps, or they are refusing to comply, or it's unreasonable for them to comply. Because I want to get the understanding that if they were working within the parameters of the suggestions that were made for government to consider doing automation of the tax stamps, there wouldn't be need to lay off workers and undercut production.
Of course. You see, what actually happened was that it isn't that they are not ready to comply, but then so many factors goes into the production line, and therefore you need to give time for them to adjust in their production. Because
when you say factors, I mean, I'm trying to understand you, and now, the situation we're in is not pleasant when we have about 1,500 people going, but what structures must be in place before you can fix a stamp on the bottom?
You need to overhaul your production line to accommodate the affixing machine. Now, most of them have between 5 to 6, 8 bottling lines, and one machine is quite expensive. And you look at the speed of that machine when you have to interchange every now and then. Now, if you are using the tax stamp capsules, every 15 to 30 minutes, you need to change the capsule. Now, your production of 8 hours a day is now being dropped to about 6 hours or 4 hours. So you realize that your capacity is also going down. You are not able to do ABC. So we called on government, I think somewhere in July, and the understanding was that, look, those who have the challenges, let us know. And once we are conversant with your problem, we'll be able to devise a methodology for which you come into full compliance. So we said, if that be the case, then let's see. Compliance enforcement cannot stop. You need to go on your enforcement, which will keep industry or the need-be enforcers on their toe for them to ensure that everybody come into compliance. So we said, look, if you give us between that period of July and December ending, most of this, or everybody will come on board, getting 100% compliance, because production is versatile. When you cut off, you bring in your machinery, others will have to come and then assess your bottling line to be able to give you the required machines that you need. Unfortunately, those who came in to assess the facilities and they've gone to bring in the machines, as I speak to you, most of them have their machines coming in. Now, you need time to also fix them. As you are fixing, you need time to do tests running and all that. It takes time. So we said, fine, latest by December ending, whatever stock that you have on the market will be phased out by January. So therefore, you give them ample time to come on board whilst they do all these simulations and everything that they need to do. So government said, okay, we will agree. But then we are not going to stop the enforcement as it is. Because if you look at the imported products, I can tell you that about 95% or 98% compliance has been achieved. Now, if it comes to the local production, that is where we had a challenge. So we said, look, let us run side by side until December ending, where we know nobody will have an excuse for not coming into the free of this tax stamp. So we were a bit amazed when all of a sudden they said we are going to go ahead with the enforcement. We said, no problem, but don't go the way you intend to go, because that would not help industry, and it will also send a bad signal to our international community. So therefore, we have to be very careful. So
you're suggesting that these layoffs, you already said that about 1,002 have already been laid off. The layoffs started early part of the year. You're suggesting that this is as a result
that wasn't part of
the tax stamp problems.
Yeah, that was also other unforeseeable challenges.
What were these? I mean, I'm trying to
at that time, you see,
everything compounded into the problem we have on our hand today.
At that time, you know, we had a lot of biscuit manufacturers coming into the system and all that. Now, let me tell you, most of these companies, as they are coming into the country to produce, either they are producing within the free zone enclave for export, and once you are producing for export, at least you need to put about 25% of your production onto the Ghanaian market. If you are not able to do that, what it means is that you look at what is coming into the country and the challenges thereof. So if I'm not able to compete with the imported products, what it means is that I need to shut down my facility and relocate to where market forces are cheaper. I'm able to also generate my returns in time. Now, at that time, what was happening? We discussed it, but they couldn't stand it. They said, look, we cannot compete within the Ghanaian market. But coupled with the electricity, at that time it was very high and people were not able to. So most companies contemplated shutting down and either relocating or not that. Some of them actually did relocate it. Some of them had their facilities limited to a point where let's wait and see what the attitude of government or the infrastructure of electricity and all that will be. And fortunately, we were able to bring it down. That side was a bit stabilized. Then, unfortunately, we came up with this, the high rise of the cost of foreign exchange also going up drastically. And if you're a business person and you are not able to do proper forecasting due to your exchange rates, then it means that you probably will be running down your investments.
So of all the workers that have been laid off, are there particular reasons given them by the breweries for them being laid off?
Well, with the brewery, those who have laid off, probably, let me tell you, on Friday, with the timely intervention of government when they met industry, and the understanding that they had was that the industry should go ahead and do their production. Let us see and then analyze your situation. If you are truly coming into the fray of this compliance, and obviously what can be done is to allow production to go on and sales also to. But what you have to do is to affix the stamps manually. That is where the challenge is. But some of them started doing it, buying the handheld machines and affixing the stamps manually. So they realized that there's a level of compliance and therefore there will be no need for them to produce, because when you produce and it hasn't come into the market for sale, you have not flouted any law. So at that point, they realized that, fine, we need then have to hold on with some of the actions that were supposed to be taken by laying off most of the staff.
So it means that the layoffs will not complete.
Will not come based on what has been.
That's good news, right?
Yeah, and even.
But there are no assurances to that, and that it's possible. Although these assurances, the 1,500 or 1,200 might go home anyway.
Yeah, for now, I would say that there hasn't been concrete assurances that they were going to go. But the good news on the other side is that some of them have been able to even engage more people just to assist in affixing the stamps manually. So if you intend laying off, then you also have to look at how do I get my product out of the market, into the market. So these same people, you need to turn them around and then ensure that they put this thing.
We're grateful
so
for
it was the good news that we had. But then the other ancillary unforeseen events that could also eventually lead to some of them reducing the staff strength that they have. But we need not to get to that position if government is really listening to industry and also the investors.
Right, Mr. Samuel Agre, we're grateful for your time. Samuel Agre is the General Secretary of the Food and Beverages Manufacturers Association of Ghana. I'm Stephen Enti. This is News at 10. We're live on from the News Hub at Adisawe Kanda. You can hear us on 3FM 92.7. TV3 is also live on your DSTV channel 279. We'll be right back. Please stay. Welcome back. Now, 10 protesters in the Ablekuma deplorable road demonstration in Accra have been arrested. Irish youth from 4 adjoining communities blocked roads and burned ties to express their frustration over what they described as government insensitivity towards their plight.
Residents of Ablekuma hit the roads to protest what they described as killer roads in the area. According to them, the rainy season makes the situation worse and cuts them off from the rest of Accra.
We've been complaining several times about the poor nature of the road here from Bokoboko leading to Mahia. And in fact, we have not seen anything. We have not seen anything here. So today, we are demonstrating for the government also to know that we have a problem here. We ask permission from the police, and the police say we should hold on. This is not a demonstration. It's awareness that we are creating for them to know that we have a problem. But if it is demonstration, we will start from Bokoboko up to Mahia. And I tell you yourself, you cannot even get here.
The lawmaker is not being affected by what is happening here. Don't you think that you are rather affecting the residents of the area?
You are right. That is why we have stopped for now.
They mounted roadblocks and burned car tires to prevent drivers from plying the road, leaving passengers stranded.
Manya, Isakina, Oduma, Joma. In fact, Ablekuma Road from Ablekuma.
This road goes as far as Kaswa and Kumasi. The road is terrible. It destroys our cars. Even pregnant women miscarry on this road.
The youth said after several years, the Ablekuma curve to a former road is yet to be reconstructed and called for a permanent solution to the problem. They rejected the reshaping, which they argued ends up worsening their plight, and served notice to continue with the protest until their problem is addressed.
On the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, has cast doubt over government's claims it transferred an amount of 403.74 million cedis into the Treasury single account in 2017. This follows claims by PIAC that government through the Finance Ministry did not account for the said amount being an unspent portion of the annual budget funding amount.
A fiscal inspection carried out by PIAC on oil-funded projects in 2016 revealed that for 5 years, the Finance Minister had failed to fully comply with Sections 48 Clause 2B of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, which enjoins the Minister to provide updates on the stage of implementation of oil-funded projects as part of its reconciliation report to Parliament. PIAC has accused the Finance Ministry of failing to properly account for oil funds, but government in a response to the allegation said the amount of 403.74 million cedis had been transferred into the Treasury single account in 2017 in accordance with Sections 46 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, an assertion strongly contested by PIAC.
The inability of government to account for the money properly. We wrote to the ministry, and that was about 4 months ago, asking for explanation as to what had happened to the money in question, which is about 403.74 million Ghana cedis. The ministry in its account to PIAC did not actually say a word about that money. It only reported that indeed it has received slightly in excess of 700 million Ghana cedis for spending through the budget in that particular year. And by close of year, according to its own account, it had managed to spend a little over 300 million, leaving a balance of 403.74 million. The ministry has not, to date, responded to our letter.
The chairman of PIAC also challenged government to show proof of the accounts.
The argument is this: we don't know about the Treasury single account, but if indeed the money is being kept there, then we want evidence. So really, we think that as PIAC, the government still have answers to give us in terms of how the 403.74 million has been expended.
Now, Ghana is targeting 1 million barrels of crude oil per day by 2020 from the current production levels of 200,000 barrels per day. The country is putting 6 oil blocks in the Western Basin of the Cape 3 points for licensing rounds.
For the 6 oil blocks, Block 1 is reserved for the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation (GNPC). Block 2, 3 and 4 are for open bidding, whilst Block 5 and 6, which are deep water blocks, are up for direct or selective negotiation. The deep water blocks require huge capital outlay and specific technical expertise, as well as experience in that area of exploration and production. Deputy Minister of Energy with responsibility for the petroleum sector, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, outlined the selection process.
So the 2 that we have shown today, Block 5 and 6, we are advertising. we are making it public. So companies that fall within the category that we are looking at, they all write to the minister. The minister will evaluate all those companies based on that criteria, the criteria for selecting a company that can be able to meet its minimum obligation, that can bring technology, and select one to negotiate directly with that company.
CEO of Petroleum Commission, Egbert Fable Jr., explained the new bidding process. The winning company needs to have a Ghanaian indigenous partner with at least 5% share.
Ghanaians are not precluded, no. But we've taken the position that it may also be that a foreign entity may win over a Ghanaian. If that becomes the case, then the Ghanaian, an indigenous Ghanaian partner must necessarily be brought to play.
He assured this will not lead to fronting by locals for foreigners.
What the Petroleum Commission has done is that, in the last year, we've created a monitoring and evaluation department. They've been out in the field, and we've seen the companies where, it's on paper that this is a JV company, but the indigenous Ghanaian company does not even have presence in the company's office. The JV doesn't work. They've come and we've told them that when it's time for renewal of their JVs, we will not renew it.
Dr. Amin Adam outlined the timetable for the bidding process.
For the direct negotiation, about a month or 2 months. Yeah. So after the 2 months, all the expressions of interest we've received, the minister will evaluate them and then select one for negotiation to start. But for the competitive bidding, it continues for a period of 8 months, leading to the signing of petroleum agreements in August next year, August 2019. So you see that the competitive bidding is going to take longer because it's competitive. And you have to make sure that everybody has a chance to compete. And when they compete, you evaluate them fairly.
The second round of the oil and gas licensing will take place from November 5 to 9 in South Africa.
The Ghana Union of Traders Association has described the implementation of the cargo tracking note system as illegal. According to the national organizer of the association, Clement Boatin, the CTN is not backed by law, emphasizing it is just a select few who are bent on implementing it for their own selfish gains.
Though the Ghana Revenue Authority has pointed out that there have been adequate consultation with stakeholders, Guta insists the authority has failed to address their concern.
With regards to the cost, at one point they say GRA is going to bear the cost. At another point they say the importer is going to bear the cost. You see, so they've been back and forth with the issues of the legal aspect. They've not been able to say anything about it. They have said government has rights, to do anything. But we all know that when it comes to the issues of revenue in this country, revenue collection in this country, it must be backed by law. And the only place that you have to go, for it to be assented to is the parliament. Yes. So they have not been able to, answer some of these questions that we have raised.
The association is considering a strike.
If they are talking about revenue generation, we don't have anything against it, but the issues that we have raised is what they must address. And even if they're talking about this generation, there's this revenue generation, there's already a system in place. That is the PAA, that is the pre-arrival assessment system is already in place, and they also have a manifest system in place that all goes to check these loopholes that they are talking about. So what is their beef? So we think it's just a group of people who want to, by all means, try as much as possible to implement this CTN for their own selfish benefit. And we think it is not right for Ghanaians.
And that's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for your time. On behalf of the crew, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.